Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Welcome if you are new. My name is Heather. I'm a homeschooling mom of 3 kids, elementary, high school, and recent graduate. Today I'm really excited to be joining Abby from Rooted in Rest and Jessica from the Waldock Way with their homeschool show and tell. And today it's going to be all about homeschool goals for the 2025-2026 homeschool year. So let's get into it. Okay guys, when I saw the theme for this month, I thought, perfect. That is right up my alley. I love setting goals and I set goals every year. I am huge into the Power Sheets Goal Planner from Cultivate What Matters. And in fact, I do set a homeschool related goal pretty much every year, usually in December, for the coming year. In fact, my goal for this year is to create a learning environment that inspires my kids' passions and prepares them for real-world independence. And I was so excited to sit down and do this video. And I wanted to go back through some of my old goals content to see what I had to say about setting homeschool goals. And as I was searching through my very large archive of both videos and blog content, I could not find something specifically related to homeschool goals. That's not entirely correct. I did find a blog post from 2014 that I had written about homeschool goals, but honestly, I thought that I had been sharing kind of my thoughts about each homeschool year and what I wanted to accomplish with my kids and for my kids and focuses. And I think that I have done that, but I haven't ever framed it as these are the particular goals that we have for this current year. So I had to kind of sit down and think about it a little bit because, like I said, I do primarily use the Power Sheets Goal Planner, and that is a yearly goal planner from January to December. So in December, when I'm doing my prep work and setting up my goals for the coming year, that's when I'm really evaluating what I want to change, what things are working and what is not working. And I think that I do that during the summer months, but this year I definitely didn't, and part of the reason is because I took a big chunk of time off this summer, which was absolutely lovely. I really needed to focus on rest this past summer, especially after having Emma graduate. If you've been around, you will already know that. If you are new, welcome. I'm really happy to have you here. I decided after a very, very challenging winter and spring season to really take a big step back in the summer and focus on rest. And what that meant was that we started school later this year. We usually start in July and we didn't start until August this year. I did not spend a huge amount of time in the summer months thinking about homeschooling. I did get all of our curriculum. I did plan out what I wanted to focus on for the year, but I didn't sit down and really deep dive on a lot of goals for my kids. I think part of it was just because we're trying to get used to Emma having graduated. She's taking a gap year this year. She's not left the house for college. She actually graduated a year early because she had enough credits and she really wanted to focus on her novel, which she has finished the first big draft of her novel and is now in the editing and revision phase for that. So we're really excited about that, but that changes the dynamic in our home. And we've already had a few little hiccups along the way, which again, I did talk about in my homeschool update, but I'll recap them quickly here. Mainly that the history course that I designed for Jack for this year ended up not being as good of a fit for him as I wanted it to be. And so I think that once that happened, I realized I needed to take a little bit of a step back and look at our homeschool year as a whole and see what are the things that I wanted to do. And so this prompt helped me to sit down and kind of flesh out a few new ideas. And so after that very long introduction, I'm going to share them with you now. The first is that I really do want to focus on the rhythms that we have implemented over the years, our weekly rhythms. I want to keep those things because they are great benchmarks within our week for our homeschool, for our family. The first is being our Monday meetings. We have been doing Monday meetings since my older two were babies, essentially. I remember doing Monday meetings when they were toddlers and I did not have Lucy yet. And it was just kind of a time to come together and see, what do we want to do for the week, and what are you excited about, and is there anything that you want to do for fun? And that has continued over the years, and now it's very intentional time. We sit down and we go over the schedule for the week. We go over everybody's checklist for what they have to accomplish for homeschool for the week, what I'm requiring. If there are any projects that they are working on, we talk about any time that we're going to be outside of the house for activities or sports or appointments, or if my husband has days off, if we're traveling, whatever that is. We talk about all of that on Monday and just get a good understanding of what is expected. I've been doing weekly homeschool planning since I started homeschool planning. It seems to work the best for me, just because we never know what is actually going to come up in a year. If I plan out all of our lessons and put them on a specific day in the summer, that just doesn't work. And the way that our homeschool curriculum that we've used for many, many years, we have been primarily literature-based homeschoolers, so we read a lot of books. Some weeks we're reading more of those books, some weeks we're reading less of those books, some weeks we're adding in different resources. So having that understanding helps me to know that weekly planning works. And so having this Monday meeting where we're just going over what needs to be done during the week is very helpful. Having their lists done for the week so that they know what I'm expecting them to get done is helpful. And I want to continue doing that. Our weeks flow better when we have that meeting and when I have prepared ahead of time for the week. I have done many weeks of planning from behind where we're just trying to get through to the next thing. In the fall, that really does not work for us because we're using all new resources. And so just making sure that I am staying on top of getting things planned out and having our Monday meeting and making sure everybody is on the same page is the first kind of goal that I would like to maintain for the 2025-2026 homeschool year. And with that, we have 2 other theme days within our schedule. The first is our Passion Project Day, and the second is our Screen Free Day. So our Passion Project Day, they do still have some required schoolwork. Mainly it is English and math that they work on. We kind of are off from science and history typically that day, unless there is something specific for my high schooler that he needs to do. But for the most part, it's just English and math on our Passion Project Day. And then that allows my kids to have a good amount of time to focus on whatever passion project they are currently working on. For Jack, he's done a variety of things. Last year, he was working on an animated series with a friend of his. And this year he is working on creating a video game. And I think that he has actually finished the initial game and he's hoping to publish it, or I don't exactly know what the next step is after that. By the end of this year, by the end of 2025, he's planning on making it available so other people can use it. So that has been one of his big passion projects. He's also trying to build up a YouTube channel, so he's doing live streaming for a video game, Terraria. I will leave his information linked if you have kids that are interested in video games. He absolutely loves doing all of that kind of stuff, so you can certainly check it out if you would like. But making sure that he has the time available to him to work on these things. He's in high school. He has some very defined goals for himself. He is really good about projects and coming up with projects to work on. And for him specifically, I have him send me kind of progress reports each week to let me know what he's working on, if he needs new resources, kind of just a summary of what he's working on and what he's doing, so that I have a good understanding of that. And then for Lucy, her passion project since this summer has really been baking. And so she has started doing a lot more searching for recipes and then making the recipes, and Emma kind of helps her with that, which is really nice to see. I don't have to necessarily be too involved in that project because Emma can kind of oversee it, it's nice for me to see them working together because there is such an age difference between them, but also just enjoying that dynamic of the 2 sisters working together. I just think it's a lot of fun. She does not have to give me progress reports, but that is her focus on our Passion Project Day, at least it has been. And the way that this kind of works is we do kind of like a 6 weeks on, 1 week off schedule, where during the 6 weeks, they choose kind of one project to work on for the 6 weeks. And then that 7th week, when we're off from homeschooling, they have the opportunity to deep dive on that passion project. So it's not necessarily a vacation week, it's just a vacation from mom school, from English and math and those types of things. But they can then sit down and really focus on that project or decide that they want to work on something different in the next 6-week session. So that's the second rhythm that I want to continue working on, and making sure that I protect our time for that particular day, just because I think that it's very valuable for my kids. And then the third day that I want to continue to keep in our schedule is a screen-free day. And I know that may sound funny because a lot of homeschoolers try to not be on any screens during the week, and I think that is amazing. We are not that family. We are very tech heavy in our home. A lot of our passion projects are screen-based or technology-based. My son does a lot of video game design and animation and digital music production and all of that kind of stuff. My daughter is a writer and she does a lot of digital art and graphic design and that kind of stuff. My work is all online. I have my membership community, I make videos, I have been blogging since 2006. So it's kind of challenging to say, oh, we're just going to be off screens for the day, because a lot of our school and projects are based around technology. So it's really hard for us to say, okay, we're not going to be on screens at all during the school week. Partly because a lot of school is online, especially for my high schoolers. Emma, when she was in high school, took, chemistry online. She took Spanish 1 through 3 online. Jack is doing computer science through CompuScholar, and a lot of his math through teaching textbooks is online. So can I make an excuse for, well, it's only school-based technology that we're using? Yes, but then nothing really changes. So when we have our screen-free day, what we actually do is we are completely off screens. Jack isn't doing his math or his computer science. He's not working on digital music production. He can play the piano, but he's not doing his little MIDI keyboard or working on his computer. The same with the rest of us. I am pretty much off screens. I do work a little bit first thing in the morning, but usually I wrap up around 7 a.m. and then have our screen-free time. And it's been really nice. This is something that I started doing a few years ago, and it's really lovely in the winter, in the cold winter months, like after Christmas, when when it's just really cold and dark. We tend to play a lot of board games and have candles and do a lot of like hygge homeschooling type things, which is a lot of fun. So I want to continue protecting that rhythm as well, because it's really important to me. These are not new goals necessarily, but they are things that I still have to work on to maintain, because it's very easy for me to say, oh, you know what, that sounds like a fun thing that we want to do instead. Or yeah, we can do this, or we can just switch things around a little bit. But when that happens, it becomes a really slippery slope for me. And the next week, there isn't the momentum to continue with those habits because the previous week we didn't do them. And so just continuing to have these boundaries around these particular days and making sure that I follow through with consistency is really important to me. Now, as far as individual student goals, I don't necessarily have individual student goals for my kids. Primarily, I guess that I kind of do, primarily for my oldest, because she is still at home. She's 17, she's in this gap year. I am honestly just trying to mentor her through this year. She is doing all of the traditional senior year of high school things this year, like taking the SAT, applying for scholarships, applying to colleges. She's unsure what she wants to do next. She's unsure about the career direction that she wants to go in, and that is totally fine. I'm not expecting her to have everything figured out, but it's a lot of exploration. It's a lot of combing through information. It's very overwhelming to kids to just say, okay, well, there's a lot of colleges that you can go to, choose one, or there's a lot of majors that you can look at, choose one that you plan to go to school and potentially take out debt to do that. What are the future career aspirations for this particular major? It's a lot of work and it's a lot of choices, and they're really big, hard choices to know whether you're making the right one or not. And so my primary goal with Emma is to just continue mentoring her and helping her think through these different decisions and trying to make the decisions not so big, trying to narrow down information ahead of time. I want her to be able to do a lot of this, but just giving her the tools in order to be able to do that is important. And because she's my oldest, it's the first time that I'm really going through this. And I think back to my own experience when I was in high school. I actually applied to college when I was a junior in high school and was accepted. And so I kind of got all of that senior stuff out of the way in my junior year. And so I didn't need to focus on it my senior year, which was lovely. It seems like there's so many more choices today. And is college necessary? Not necessarily. And what is the career direction that she wants to go in, and does she need to have college? Does she just need to find a good network of people to be with? It's a lot of different questions, and I don't have all of the answers, and so we're just kind of partnering together to try and figure things out. And so that, I guess, is my goal for her, is to put her on the right path and help her make the right decisions for her future, at least for the near term, and we'll see what happens. For my son, who is a sophomore in high school, my goal really is to just make sure that I can continue getting him the tools and resources he needs in order to continue to make progress on his own goals and projects, because he is so focused on very particular things, which is good. And it's not too bad for me, because even though I know nothing about video game design, I'm really good at researching things and finding resources. And so I'm utilizing my skill set of a good researcher to help him find the resources and tools that he needs to make progress on these goals. And so I just want to continue to foster that growth mindset, and for him to continuously engage in new ideas. I think that's great. So that's kind of my next goal for him specifically. And then with that, I don't want to bog him down with a lot of resources that maybe he doesn't need. And that was actually one of the reasons that I decided to scrap our history program. Like I said, we are literature-based homeschoolers, and I've been doing literature-based homeschooling since I bought our first curriculum from Sunlight in 2010. And so that is many, many years of literature-based learning, and breaking out of that is challenging. Not having 30 books for one subject is challenging. Trying to figure out what he needs instead of that history that I designed, that is also challenging. It's something that I haven't quite figured out yet. I'm leaning more to skipping history this year and instead having maybe an entrepreneurship or college and career elective for him, which is something that I did do for Emma when she was like freshman, sophomore year. So I think that it might actually be helpful for him as well. And once I figure that out, I will definitely share it with you. So that's the other thing, just not bogging down on busy work or too much reading. I love reading. Obviously, I love books. Books are definitely my thing. And I have 1,200 books boxed up in the basement. So this is not all of the books, but we don't need to spend exorbitant amounts of time reading books if it's not necessarily furthering his own personal goals. So we will see with that. It's still kind of up in the air as to which direction we'll move in, but I'm sure I will come up with something and share it with you soon. And then for Lucy, my goal is kind of similar. She does well with literature-based learning, but she does not want to sit still for as much literature-based learning as my oldest did when she was her age. And I have mentioned this a few times. She does so much better with project-based learning. And that's hard for me because I'm not really good with projects. I am good with projects, but not like hands-on lap books and that type of stuff. But last year we did get an elections lap book from Sunlight, and she did that for part of her history last year and loved it. And so this year we are technically in level E of Sunlight, which is year 2 of 2 of US history. And I bought the lap book that goes with it. And so we're primarily doing the lap book. And then I have selected some specific books from level E because we've already purchased that. but I'm not doing all of the books from level E. And so I'm trying to not bog her down with a lot of extra work. Fifth grade is kind of in our homeschool when things definitely step up a little bit. She does have a full science curriculum this year, whereas in the previous years, we've done a summer science intensive. So we finish all of our science in the summer months. It's based around nature and like outdoors type science stuff. And now this year she has a full year curriculum for science. So it's a little bit different. There's a little bit more work. And then just allowing her enough time for play is also really important to me. And that can sometimes be challenging because Jack's workload is so much heavier. And so there's a lot of hours of time that he is putting in for his work and not as many hours for her, obviously. And so trying to figure out what can she do in the meantime so that he is still able to do his work. Emma is able to work on her novel and do all of that kind of stuff. It's kind of a balancing act, and figuring out what a good alternative activity during that time is for her is something that I'm still trying to figure out, but it is a goal for me to, I guess, maybe lighten up a little bit on the heavy workloads that I kind of expect from my students. But I am excited about this year. It's like I said in my homeschool update video, it's been a little bit different this year starting out, and not that it's bad, it's just different. It just feels different. I know that a lot of it is because Emma has graduated. I know a lot of it is because I'm thinking Jack only has a couple of years left and I still have a huge amount of time with Lucy. And so I don't want to miss out on those fun things that I did with Emma and Jack when they were Lucy's age, but also still allowing enough time to get high school level work completed. So those are kind of my goals. They're not necessarily SMART goals that have super specific action steps to them. It's more mindset related and just making sure that I'm continuing to stick to what I have planned. I think that that is a big part of it, but I will definitely revisit my homeschool goal at the end of 2025 when I start setting up my power sheets for 2026 and choose goals for 2026. So stay tuned if that's something that you're interested in. So thank you again to Abby and Jessica for hosting this collaboration. I will leave the playlist linked in the description box so you can see anybody else who is participating in this collaboration. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you are looking for more help and encouragement around home and homeschooling goals, I would love for you to come check out my membership community. That link is always in the description box. Again, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye, guys.